and welcome to TBR's webcast, Icebergs, Gold, and Foundations, insight from TBR's BI Analytics and Data Management Study. I'm Allison Crawford, Marketing Manager here at Technology Business Research, and I'll be your host for today's session. As you know, TBR provides company-centric analysis on a consistent time basis. The information we'll be covering today comes directly from our BI Analytics and Data Management Study. I'm excited to provide you insights from the study, so let's introduce Alan Kranz, Senior Analyst on the software team here at TBR. Alan researching the enterprise software market for the last 7 years and was a founding member of the Cloud Research Initiative here at TBR. His insight into the evolution, adoption cycles, and opportunity in the cloud market is helping our clients navigate this challenging market and make the most out of their investments. Let's get started. Alan?
Great, thanks, Allison. So I want to pause before we get into the study just to look at the title of today's discussion. It's Iceberg, Gold, and Foundations. These are things that are at the same time dramatic, exciting, and also mundane. And I think that speaks to the state of the market that we saw in BI and analytics today, and also important elements in terms of where we see the market going as customers continue to invest in this area and build its strategic importance for the business initiatives over the next 2 years. Alan Kranz, Senior Analyst in TBR Software Practice. One of the key elements that I've done as part of my research over the past 5 years is leading studies just like this that look at certain market segments that have a lot of client interest, a lot of customer interest, come at it from a lens that combines both the vendor strategy, the customer behavior, and the key trends that are going on in the market. So this one focuses on BI analytics, data management. We've done others that look at exciting areas like cloud and appliances as well. So our BI research, really 3 things came out in terms of what's both in the market today and where we see the future adoption going over the next 2 years. To set a comparison point, one of the things we centered on is we looked at a table here as we're talking about the key findings from the study. It brought back 10 years in terms of our own used televisions and technology that we had 10 years ago. And most of us, as we looked around the table, were cutting edge of flat screen TV adoption. None of us had put $10,000 to get one of those early plasma screen TVs. But fast forward to today, nearly all of us has capitalized on that trend. We all have flat screen LCD, plasma, LED televisions. And we think about what's brought us to where we are today. It wasn't about the TV. There was many purchases that resided around that enhanced television set, things like the console that it sits on, like the speakers that we get surround sound through. Also services. Almost had a high definition television service that complements the TV grade that we had had over the past 5-10 years. So there's a lot that resides around that investment. We see a similar state when we look at the BI market, where most customers haven't been on the cutting edge of adoption in terms of tools and management tools. But as they look ahead, they see themselves in the similar position that we found ourselves, where they've caught themselves up, they've attained that kind of baseline investment in terms of, we think about that flat panel TV, but that they acknowledge there's a lot of assistance and products and services that are needed in order to get them there. The overall feeling we get for the market and where it's going, so it certainly makes it quite an exciting space if you're a provider of products or services around these BI tools. There's a lot needed from customers in this space as they invest over the next couple of years in a achieve their aspirational state of BI maturity. So we go deeper into the three key findings that came out of the research. I want to give you a background for what the scope of the study was, what the methodology was for the findings that we'll go through today. The study, in terms of the numbers, we did 350 surveys, 60 in-depth interviews. But I think the important part was how we divided that up and what the focus was from a customer standpoint. So you can see we covered both the mid-market and large enterprise segments. We did that through the lens of 6 key vertical industries. So within each of those 6 industries, we have equal distribution of surveys between mid-market and large enterprise customers. And what it does is that it gives us more than just an overall BI market view. It gives specific insight into those key verticals. And within verticals, we can identify the differences between mid-market customers and large enterprise customers. So that makes it very actionable for folks that have gone ahead and purchased the entire study. It's not only an overall assessment and roadmap for the market, there's very actionable into specific verticals that a lot of the founders for this study have focuses in, and that they want it to go out and to inform their strategies within these certain verticals. So I want to dive right into the first overall finding, which is that when we got the current state of adoption, we looked at that as the tip of the iceberg. We saw those leading edge competitors driving a lot of the investment to date in this space, but that a lot of their peers that perhaps have lagged those leading edge competitors in terms of the pace of the adoption, the coverage across the different tools that we looked at within BI, that they're riding below the surface today, but that they're going to start to accelerate their pace of investment, start to really rise and see just the size of the opportunity that currently is a little bit below the market, but that's going to catch up. Lens, we combine both a current view in terms of the maturity of the customers that we spoke with and a future-looking view. Start with the big brackets. We looked at immature and mature, and the way this was to look at the tools that they've invested in today. We identified a kind of a common tool set that we're calling a core BI set of tools. So these are the technologies, 4 or 5, that really saw the highest levels of adoption, and a mature segment of current customers in the space. They had good coverage across this core tool set. On the left-hand side, those immature customers, those are customers that either have in that, don't have the same level of penetration as the more mature customers, haven't quite reached that state of maturity that the leaders in the market have. So that's the current market view. And those 2 big bracketed buckets, we looked at what the inches were for future investments. By combining those, looking at the cross sections of those, there's 4 categories that come out. First, starting at the left, these are people who are lagging, who have low maturity today, but also have more limited plans to invest going forward. Proving this really gets at that bulk of the nascent opportunity that resides for vendors in the market. These are customers that acknowledge that their maturity isn't on par with their peers today, but plans for investment over the next 2 years is at an accelerated pace. So these are those customers, similar to a lot of folks here at TBR, as we talked about TVs, that weren't on the cutting edge, but that plan to catch up and have a map in place for the technologies they're going to look to purchase over the next 2 years in order to achieve that aspirational state of BI maturity. A segment of the market that is mature today and looking at how their investment plans differ, we see leading customers and we see slipping customers. The leading customers that have really bought into BI. They've made significant investments and purchases in terms of tools and processes today, but to continue that pace of investment going forward. Slipping customers, these are the same type of current maturity, a lot of existing investments, more modest investment plans going forward. They're not going to continue the pace of investment that they've seen over the past 5 years, over the next 2 years going forward. And so you can see we've mapped out the percentages of customers that fell into each of the buckets that we identified as part of the study. And that in that improving category, the largest cluster, the highest percentage of customers in improving space. Combine that with the leading customers, you can see right in the middle, that's the segment of the market that's going to continue to create opportunity for vendors providing tools and services around BI over the next 2 to 3 years. So that's really going to be where that future value creation is going to reside, centering around those improving and leading customers, representing a majority of those customers that we spoke with as part of the research. Categories identified. The next view that we took with the research overall, and the theme that we wanted to call out with the study, end to end, is really looking at not only identifying current and aspirational state, but looking at what the opportunity is for vendors in the space. Taking that next step towards making it actionable, and looking at how the offering needs and the opportunity differs as we look at these different categories of customers. So it really differs as you look at the different states of maturity, starting with lagging customers. These customers that really need to be bought into BI overall, and need to have assistance in terms of planning for how it can be used to benefit their business, and to get buy-in that justifies future investments in order to increase them from what's currently a very immature state towards a state of more mature BI usage and BI tool purchasing. Moving area, these customers don't need to be bought into BI, but they still need the consulting and the business planning in order to identify that roadmap for them to move forward. It's both about the planning, but also in order to justify that increased pace of BI investment, they're going to need a lot of that financial business case justification that comes from ROI evaluation, really selling BI as something that has a positive return for their business to allow them to accelerate that pace of BI investment. For the bottom, looking at the leading and slipping, the comments that both of these customers had, both coming out of the survey and the conversations that we had, was first to justify and to pull value out of their already large investments in this space. So for them, that was a common theme, whether they're planning to continue investment moving forward or to have more limited investment plans. Really squeezing value from what they've put in place today is one of their big focal points for off needs. As you start to think about future investment, the leading folks have more of a need to look at advanced and emerging tools in a way that complements those investments, whereas the slipping folks, really value out of what they have today is probably the best path forward in terms of justifying additional investment and perhaps accelerating their pace of investment, so that you're pulling those investments forward within perhaps a year or 2 year timeline, whereas right now they're not looking at as many investments over those time periods. So really 4 different categories as we look at both the current and aspirational state of customers today. and it really resonates into different opportunities for vendors of tools and services in the market. So with market landscape view established, the next area that we wanted to look at was one level below that. What's actually driving the investment for customers in this space? What's the behavior and the outcomes that they're looking for in order to manifest itself in additional investments that will create opportunity for vendors in this space. We looked at the surveys, digested all the conversations that we've had as part of the study with more than 60. The common theme that really came out was that space, it wasn't as much about cost savings, operational efficiencies, those are still important. That business expansion was the one outcome that really drove investment in the area, that opened up spending and business strategy focus, that's really the key thing that aligned different users and different use cases behind in order to enable for most customers. Look at some of the key WH questions. When we look at who uses it, the toughest cluster we saw was in the sales and finance functions, things like sales forecasting, financial planning. So the financial aspect flows down from the opportunity expansion down to the finance offices and the sales offices that really enable that activity and enable that opportunity to happen. That was, okay, so we know the sales and finance folks are using it. How are they using it? What is the outcome that they're looking to achieve with use of these BI tools and processes? The common thing that came out there was, both through the surveys and the interviews, was that customers not only want to make better decisions, but want to make those decisions more quickly. There was a sense of time urgency that they felt BI tools put data in their hands in order to more quickly capture opportunity. And then for what? It's creating this opportunity and growth. And I think the quote that we have down at the bottom summarizes, in kind of a very neat capsule, the themes that we saw customers in terms of why they were using BI tools and what to drive their investment over the next 2 years. So it's very important to locate hidden and potential growth and to analyze the data to trap future opportunities. There's a couple things that come out of that quote that I think are important. The first is to locate hidden areas of potential growth. So those are areas that are not currently evident or present to them today, that BI tools allows them to identify in a way that they weren't able to before. The second important part of the quote, to trap the future opportunities. So about future opportunities, it's having the data around that identification that allows them to approach it, to properly capture that, and to encapsulate it. So it's not only identification of the opportunity, it's the data that allows them to put in place a strategy that traps it and actually captures it, rather than just having interesting or needs to know that opportunities exist. It needs to take that next step and actually allow them to capture it. One of the slides that we have here today, it's the high-level findings. It's rolling everything up. Want to get a little glimpse into some of the more granular insight and data we have as part of the full BI analytics and data management deliverable. So here you have an example that highlights, when we talk about who's using the tools within the organizations that we spoke with. This type of full view of the data that's part of the full deliverable. You can see not only that clustering around sales and finance functions, I had a question around, how fraud detection plays in. You'll be able to identify that, highlight it as, the least frequently function that's your BI, but it allows you to put the findings and the conclusion into perspective of, the full breadth of the questions and the data that we have that supports the findings we're going through today. So a view of the different needs and the opportunity that we really roll up and identify as part of the overall research. So whereas the first year we looked at the offering needs, here we're looking at some examples of discrete products and services we see as a fit for customers that fall into each of these different categories. So just highlight them. For the lagging people, the need that we really saw was something to get them started with BI tools, to gain incremental buy-in through business results, paves the way for future investment and can facilitate a turnaround in terms of how they view BI as part of their overall business strategy. Discrete products with ROI, incremental buy-in is really the path forward for them in terms of investments in the BI space. Around improving, so for them about a lot of justification of this accelerated investment. So when you talk about some of the things that people noted as holding them back, it comes down to freeing the funds for investment in BI in what is universally a very tight, cost-reduction-focused environment for a lot of IT initiatives. Looking at things like shared risk engagements where you can take some risk off of their back, share in some of the positive outcomes that can come through the implementation of BI, but remove some of that upfront investment and risk that can allow them to move forward with investments without bearing the full financial burden at the outset. And then go off to the right, it becomes more about, if you look at the slipping, more about support and maintenance, delivering value around the tools that they have in place, and also starting to demonstrate the business case and getting executive buy-in for the advanced and emerging BI tools. So they feel like they have a good base BI today, and to enable additional investment, it all comes down to the business case. So anything that can be proactive and help them demonstrate that can get back on an executive pace of BI investment again, whereas otherwise their focus is going to remain on supporting and maintaining current tools and processes. Thinking of what's going to be driving the behavior in the market both today and going forward. The next piece that we want to look at was, given the 2 points of current maturity between immature and mature, what are the differences? What are the things that then highlight from mature users in the space that can help accelerate the pace of investment for immature users, help them to a cleaner path forward so that they can avoid some of the pitfalls experienced by those customers on the leading edge of BI investment. So these things that from a vendor standpoint can help you move customers forward more quickly and in a more efficient and effective way, learning from what the gap is between mature and immature current users. That we saw when we spoke with what we call mature versus immature users is this in terms of the way they viewed BI and how it related to their decision-making process. And saw this difference, and it wasn't something that always resonated in the same way. I think it came out differently, the one that we spoke with, but with the shift that they made from what we're calling human-centric decision-making process, where intuition leads and a lot of data is pulled in after the fact in order to build that business case and to support a certain direction. And this shift with the more mature users towards a data-centric decision-making process, where it's pulled in more proactively in order to guide decisions, and that involved earlier in the process rather than justifying afterwards. It really led the path for business decisions. That was a shift in terms of the organizational process, in terms of how decisions and data were used in terms of defining the business strategy. And I set up, very concretely in terms of what needs to take place in order to enable that shift. It was the way we worked has changed. Management feels more confident and are taking more calculated risks. And more importantly, we are expanding rapidly. What we found was that in order to provide that confidence that leads to more calculated risks that bring those returns that they aren't seeing today, that identify those hidden areas of opportunity and deliver business results for their organization, underlying focus on data quality. That's really what we saw in terms of allows mature organizations to have confidence in the data, to take calculated risks as a result of what the trends and the opportunities that shown by the BI tools. It all resides in terms of at foundation level, what their confidence level was in the data in terms of enabling them to take that shift and to change their organization, whether they knew it, whether it was top of mind or not, in terms of how they were making decisions, how they were thinking about data and BI in terms of informing and enlightening their overall business strategy. From the state perspective, one of the things we asked people was, tell us which of these attributes were most important in terms of the success of your BI analytics data management strategy. More than 10. There are things like executive buy-in, returns from previous BI investments, so numerous factors. And what we saw when we looked at the different groups of customers was that data quality programs, which one of many attributes that were provided to people as an option. The distinct difference between how data quality ranked as you look at the left side of the chart with the immature current users and the right-hand side of the chart with the currently mature BI users, in that as you start from left to right, obviously data quality is in that top 5 for both the lagging and improving customers, but certainly not not top 1. Didn't top the list for those customers. And as you transition over to the right, universally for both categories, it was the most important BI success factor. So when we look at it, it speaks to us and says that data quality is one of the perhaps mundane, but it's really that foundational piece that allows customers to move on just a ad hoc or departmental use of BI tools and to institutionalize those tools at a deeper enterprise-wide level and integrate that into their overall decision-making process and drive and guide their business strategy going forward. But that doesn't happen if there isn't confidence in the data and if there isn't this focus on data management and data quality programs in order to ensure those decision makers that they're viewing is accurate and that should be moving forward with certain decisions based on the guidance received through that data and through those BI tools.
And thanks everyone who listened to this pre-recorded webcast. I'd like to connect with Alan over any questions that may have arisen during this presentation, please feel free to reach out directly to Alan at alan.kranz@tbri, or you can follow him on Twitter at @AlanKranz. If you want to watch other YouTube presentations we have, the YouTube address is here. Thank you very much for your time. We wanted to give you, to wrap up the presentation today, we want to leave you with some information regarding the study that Alan covered today, as well as some of the other related research that his group is producing right now. If you'd like to get access to this report, please email either Alan or James McElroy, our sales VP, directly at the email listed at the screen below. Thank you for watching today, and we look forward to talking with you in the future.